Ms. McCourt, you just raised a very, very important issue which relates to the ability for students to graduate on time. What's the impact of students not graduating on time? And despite all of the infusion of dollars, are we actually doing better at graduation rates?
The impact is more debt if they're financing their education with debt and lost earnings.
And this is particularly troubling to me because when you really go through the statistics, when you start to see who's impacted the most, and oftentimes we hear about this, poor students are taking on more and greater burdens with loans. And as a result, they're increasing debt for poor students. And the families, the average working family in the blue-collar districts that I represent, $55,000 salary, if they have 2 children in school, their after-tax income, virtually 100% of it would be paid towards college education.
If they're making $55,000, most institutions of higher education would be offering them significant aid.
You expect that they would be offering them significant aid?
Absolutely.
Let me ask a question about, if I might, and this is the question just of accountability. Is public education a public service? Is it a public service? If you are at a public college, is that a public service?
I think we owe it to our younger population to educate them. When we talk about the issue of the U.S. economy and our ability to compete, on into the future, yes, I think we owe it to our
Well, let me ask it another way. We talk about accountability for institutions, and I realize that these are difficult, and in some ways it may even be symbolic. But should a president of a college, notwithstanding the complexities, be making more than the President of the United States?
I'm going to go back to the issue of running very large, complex. The market of supply and demand and labor and getting good talent to run these institutions of higher education.
But you don't think we get very good people to be superintendents of high schools and very good people to be school teachers and public school systems? And you don't think with the prestige associated with being at a public institution of major that we wouldn't be able still to attract the highest quality person as the president of a major university if they were being paid the same salary as the governor?
I think if we don't pay people appropriately, you will not be able to attract the talent you need to run these very large, complex institutions.
Let me ask a question about accountability for anybody here. I hear 2 things when I go and talk to my students. One is their aspirations, and I ask this question very specifically. And the second is, what concerns you the most? And invariably they say, how are my parents going to pay for college education? So it is affecting every family across America. But one of the bigger concerns I get is when I go to employers and they say to me that they can't find people who are adequately trained to fill the jobs that they have. Where is there a measure of accountability, and this is for anyone, that looks at it and says, if we cannot fill the available jobs here in the United States with college graduates, and I say this as a liberal arts grad, a classics major like my colleague here, who finds great value in that kind of an education, but notwithstanding, we are not educating for the jobs of today, and they're going unfilled at great cost to us. Where's the accountability there? Why should we not hold institutions responsible for their failure to meet that? And I open it to anybody who may ask.
Mr. Meehan, I apologize for my earlier remark. With respect to that question, we don't have a good match between what people do in college and what the labor market wants. And some people have suggested that one way to sort of incentivize colleges to get a little better on this is to have colleges have skin in the game. Now, that can take different forms. One way is with respect to defaults on student loans and all, that maybe the colleges ought to pay back some of that rather than the students themselves. I think that's something that Congress maybe should start looking into. And it's interesting on that, by the way, that I've heard people on both sides of the aisle, I won't name names, but from highly progressive liberal Democrats to fairly conservative Republicans saying the same thing. So this might be an area of where there might be some bipartisan possibilities.
Thank you, Mr. Feder. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.